We're staying in the UK, and we're talking about the biggest gigs in UK music history
at the time.
It's
not history.
It's Knebworth.
It's
Oasis at Knebworth Park. So, I know we talk about them a lot. Let's go their background real quick, and we'll get to where they ended up.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. In 1993, they were playing in front of 120 people in London bars. Mm-hmm. And by 1995, they were selling out stadiums.
Heck yeah. And with all that, they were riding high on their albums, What's the Story, Morning Glory, because it had sold close to 13 million copies. And it would go on to eventually sell over 25 million copies. And this is long before Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. So I don't even think LimeWire was quite there yet. Or
WinMX was, though.
And so was Napster. Yeah. We need to do a Napster episode one day.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So, back to business. The band had announced that they would play a series of massive outdoor gigs in Loch Lomond.
Yep. I can't pronounce the Irish one, I'm sorry. Park.
A one in Ireland.
Yes.
And Knebworth. Sorry, guys. Loch Lomond and the Irish show would hold up to 40,000 people for each show, while Knebworth would hold up to 125,000 people at each for their shows. Tickets for all 6 gigs sold out within the day of release. There's actually a really cool documentary about this one. About people like on the phones trying to get in. Over 2 million people applied for tickets to these shows. In the end, the band played 2 nights at Knebworth, playing over 250,000 people.
Okay, it's pronounced Park y Kiev.
Park y Kiev?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's a stadium in Cork Island that hosts Gaelic games.
Cork. Okay, we'll just say Cork. Because I think I would be more disrespectful butchering it over and over again than just calling it the stadium in Cork. So my apologies.
Yeah, and no offenses intended. We just...
My southern tongue can't do it.
And I'll be completely honest, my Irishness, because my dad's Irish, it's
diluted because he's been here
because my dad's been here for 60 years. So,
yeah. Okay. So, now, all right, getting to the gig, right? All the tickets are bought. People are ready. Let's do the gig.
Yeah.
So the band played a set list containing some of their biggest songs at the time. They played a 20-track set, which was unusual for Oasis, who usually did about 17, at the time. They debuted 2 new songs at the show, It's Getting Better Man and My Big Mouth.
If you listen carefully, they're probably still singing It's Getting Better Man.
No, if you listen carefully, they're still singing All Around the World Reprise.
All right.
But the gig was a fantastic show for the band and a huge critical and commercial success.
Yeah, I mean, this was like this was a vanity show.
Mm-hmm. This is the one because we can.
Yeah. I mean, the other 2, they were, the Loch Lomond and the Cork gig, they were big shows. They had Main Road before that, which was the home of Manchester City Football Club for newer fans of the team, who've been fans since they moved stadiums.
This one was a pecker measuring.
Yeah, because they were held in high esteem with like 3 or 4 other bands, and now they were out on their own.
Yes,
because like the VIP set for this show was bigger than arenas that Blur were getting attendances in.
Jesus.
7,000 people. Which is phenomenal.
Yes.
Coming VIP 7,000,
Right.
How many important people are there for their 7,000 of you?
Well, there were still more common people.
Yes.
out in the field. Yes.
It was a gig, but it was referred to as a festival because some of the bands that they had play in there, they had the Prodigy,
right?
Cast, the Charlatans again, the Manic Street Preachers again, and of course, everybody's favorite tribute act,
the Bootleg Beatles,
which is ironic because that's what everybody called Oasis was a cheap bootleg Beatles band, and that's one of the reasons they hired the bootleg Beatles. Was again another thumb your nose up to everybody.
Right.
How much were the tickets?
£22.50.
So, $22.50 times 125,000
times 2.
Times 2. And that is
how the record label was able to afford to give Noel the Rolls Royce.
Yes. 22 times 250,000. The gigs made $5.5 million each. $5.5 million between them.
Yeah, so
you take away the advertising and maybe $4 million.
Well, yeah, and then you had to pay for. I mean, basically, there is at least a couple million a night profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. I mean, but because you have to pay for the rigging and the security and the this and the that and the this and
the
that.
Support acts. And
right, all
like
that good stuff. Yeah, and the vendors and the what. So by the time all that was said and done, I mean, and plus the police, they had to pay for the. Yeah, and plus it was on public land, so they had to pay fees and.
No, it was on private land.
It's Knebworth Park is private?
Yes. It's a giant estate in Hertfordshire. Huh. It's actually somewhere where the royals would hang out. It's posh area. You know, very, very aristocratic.
Oh, yeah, they paid. So, yeah. So, but looking back at this is seen as peak Oasis.
Yeah, the band said in interviews they regret not calling it a day for that period after the shows. Like, instead of, you know, carrying on and doing the Unplugged show and then the American tour, if they'd have just stopped, taken a breather, and carried on working, they would have done better on their third album, they believe.
But then I wouldn't have seen them in 98.
No, you would have seen them in 98. I'm talking about the tour they did in 96.
Oh, the one where that... Well, yeah, no, I still wouldn't have seen them when I did. Okay, here's the thing, how everything is related, okay? This is not a 9/11 to Twilight thing. This is... Okay, so the 96 tour, Noel quit midway.
Yeah.
All right, which is how we got Talk Tonight.
No, that was the tour before that. Talk Tonight came out in 94.
You're right. Okay, stop. Anyway, he quit, left. All right. Then when they announced the Be Here Now tour, I had to go.
Yeah.
And because the last tour ended prematurely, I had to go as early as I could possibly get there.
Just in case.
Just in case. Because if not, who knows?
Yeah.
And to make a long story short, Reginald Dwight of Family Matters and Die Hard fame inadvertently gave me my spending money to go see Oasis in Fairfax, Virginia from Louisiana, because that's how life is funny that way.
Yes.
That's another story
for another day.
Yeah. But anyway.
But what I'm talking about is if they'd have stopped the tour at the end of this show and taken a year off, the Be Here Now album would have been quote unquote better. Possibly. And they might have had something more to say and all that stuff. The gig was subject to a documentary called Knebworth. It was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it is anymore. I have to check that out. Several members of the band and the fans who were there talk about their experiences.
Right.
And that was my favorite part, listening to like the guys from Wales who took a 4-hour drive in a car that shouldn't have done that drive.
Right.
You know, and just stuff like that. Like they were 10 minutes down the road and they already had to fill the radiator full with water again. You know. We mentioned the band would cool down. In his solo career, Liam Gallagher went back to Knebworth to do a couple of nights, and just to show that he still had it. And I think that was more of his own fears.
Right.
And apparently the shows were
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. So
very cool.